What's up, people? Sorry I'm late. Got home a little later than I thought I would, and I'm on, though. I'm back. Ryan Thomas of the Thomas Take. Thanks for joining me. Wanted to hop on today at 4 o'clock, but I'm about 15 minutes late, and I apologize for anybody that was watching this live or trying to listen to this live. I just got home a little bit later than I thought I would. So this is the second annual Thomas Take Fantasy Football Primer, and I'm going position by position, giving you my rankings, my draft strategy, you name it. I'm going to give it to you. Basically, the Thomas Take on fantasy football's most interesting position in my eyes this year, the quarterbacks. Now, in previous seasons, in my eyes, I thought that, I had to get one of the big three. And the big three, in case you guys don't know, is Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, or Drew Brees. One of those three quarterbacks are the best three quarterbacks in fantasy football. Take your pick. Rank them however which way you want. My rankings state that Aaron Rodgers is number 1, Tom Brady is number 2, and Drew Brees is number 3. But you could rank those three quarterbacks any which way you want, but that's how I have it. I try to go into a draft every year where, if it's open, I'm in a keeper league. So last year I had Tom Brady. This year I'm going to have Tom Brady. I'm going to use my 5th round draft choice to keep Tom Brady in my fantasy football league. And realistically, I think that is very good for me because I've had Brady before. I can win with him. I can build around him. And obviously having Tom Brady as your quarterback on your team is not a bad thing. He's the best quarterback in my eyes in the NFL. But let's just say you're going into your draft with an open slate, no keepers whatsoever. Everybody's open. Every pick is open. And you're going into it thinking, I don't know which quarterback to get. I don't know when to take one. Do I take one early? Do I go with one of the big three in Rodgers, Brady, or Brees? Or do I maybe wait, and maybe do I take a Matt Ryan, a Andrew Luck, or a Derek Carr? There's a few ways that you can go with this. You can get one of the top 3, but just keep that constant reminder in your head that, hey, I got one of these big 3 quarterbacks. I'm not going to draft another one. If you have Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, or Drew Brees as your starting quarterback entering week 1 of the NFL regular season in 2017, do not even bother drafting a backup. When Brady reaches his bye week 9, when Rodgers reaches his bye week 8, when Brees reaches his bye in week 5, then pick one up and play the matchups. I rarely ever draft a backup quarterback, especially if I have Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, or Drew Brees. I rarely ever do. But some people feel secure in doing so, and I can't really blame them. It is what it is. It's their choice. But I want to give you guys some of the top options for your fantasy football team at quarterback in my eyes. A sleeper, an option that I think is just as reliable as Rodgers, Brady, or Drew Brees, and an option that I think will do a lot better than most people think. Basically, my 3 sleepers, basically. So, Aaron Rodgers has a week 8 bye, Tom Brady has a week 9 bye, and Drew Brees has a week 5 bye. So, you can look at this 2 different ways. You can look at it as, do I take the guy that has the earliest bye, that way it's out of the way? Or do I take a guy that has a bye kind of in the middle of the season, a little bit past the middle of the season, week 8 or week 9, and worry about it then? I would look at this and say, I would rather get my quarterback's bye week out of the way early. That way I know Drew Brees will be in my lineup from week 6 to week 16 in my league. Week 16 is the fantasy football championship. So that is basically me saying that Drew Brees, for that reason, is the best quarterback to take in fantasy football this season. His bye week is early. He's going to play a lot of shootout games. The Saints' defense is not that good, so it's going to force the Saints to pass. And he also has, in my eyes, one of the best running backs in recent memory, Adrian Peterson, in his backfield this year. Now, there's tempered expectations with that. They also have Mark Ingram. They don't have Jimmy Graham, obviously, anymore. They traded him away to Seattle a couple years ago. But knowing that they have a running back in tow, two actually, that are fairly decent, I think that will actually help Drew Brees, much like it helped Tony Romo in 2014 when Tony Romo had DeMarco Murray in his backfield with that Dallas offensive line, much like it helped Dak Prescott, I should say, with Ezekiel Elliott running behind that Dallas offensive line. Now, the Saints' offensive line is not Dallas's offensive line, but I'm talking in terms of having a running back, or two running backs, I should say, on your roster in terms of the Saints that can kind of be that security blanket for the quarterback. I like the options in New Orleans at wide receiver. You have Michael Thomas, you have Willie Snead. I believe they signed Ted Ginn Jr., who has remained relevant throughout the ups and downs of his career. He's found a way to bounce back. And I think their defense will be better. But regardless of all that, Drew Brees will get his. He will get his 20 to 25 points each week. He's very reliable. But if I were to zero in on one guy that I believe will go above and beyond expectations this year, it is Tennessee Titans quarterback Marcus Mariota. I like the schedule that Mariota has to play against. His division is not that tough. Houston has a tough defense, but from time to time he has shown success against Houston's defense. He's a mobile quarterback. He has a much better supporting cast compared to last year. He has Eric Decker at the wide receiver position now, and Corey Davis at the wide receiver position, who I really like, coming out of the University of Eastern Michigan, I believe. Or Central Michigan. One of the two, I can't remember. But I'm very excited for him. I think he's going to have a fantastic season. I think he's going to play very well. And I think he's a fairly decent option. And USA Today has him ranked 11th. I have my rankings right here in front of me, my top 10, and I have Rodgers ranked number 1, Brady ranked number 2, Brees ranked number 3, Matt Ryan ranked number 4, Derek Carr ranked number 5, Andrew Luck ranked number 6, and Cam Newton ranked number 7, Marcus Mariota ranked 8, Russell Wilson ranked 9, and Kirk Cousins ranked 10th. So there's a few names that are left out. Jameis Winston is a hot name that Dan Schalk of MyFantasySportsTalk.com ranked him as his number 1 quarterback heading into 2017. Now, I do think Jameis Winston has a fantastic supporting cast, much better than last year or the year before. Much like Marcus Mariota, they've built around those two young quarterbacks in Tampa Bay and in Tennessee, respectively. So I think that Winston will do well, but he hasn't shown that to me just yet to put him in that regard, in that higher regard. So I would say Winston, for those of you that are wondering, is a top 12 quarterback this year, but I don't have him ranked in my top 10. I have Rodgers ranked number 1 because he has 147 touchdowns and 27 interception. TD to interception ratio is 147 to 27 the last 4 seasons, which is ridiculous. Just Madden video game-like numbers. Tom Brady is Tom Brady. A better supporting cast. Brandon Cooks, on paper, a better supporting cast. But the injury to Julian Edelman, I think, could add a new wrinkle to the Patriots' offense. Drew Brees, as I mentioned, is a shootout quarterback. The Saints' defense is not that good. Brees will get his points. Matt Ryan has one of the best receivers in the game, arguably the best receiver in the game, and I'll get to that a little bit later in Julio Jones. So he's going to get his. Derek Carr, Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree, that duo at wide receiver, that triplet, I should say, in Carr, Cooper, and Crabtree is a successful one, to say the least. And he has Marshawn Lynch behind him. So I think that will be a security blanket for Derek Carr, and that'll open up things for Carr, which is why I have him ranked my 5th best quarterback, ahead of the 6th best quarterback, according to my rankings, Andrew Luck, who will miss week 1 for sure. Beyond that, I honestly haven't heard much of anything, so only time will tell. But I will say that it is concerning that the Colts, not only the Colts quarterback can't stay healthy, but the fact that the Colts will not do anything to fix it. He continues to get hurt. He continues to be surrounded by a mediocre supporting cast. Frank Gore is this guy's running back. Frank Gore is 34, 35 years old. I mean, it's a joke. There's realistically no weapons around him. T.Y. Hilton and Dante Moncrief, two decent wide receivers, but are they A.J. Green? Are they Julio Jones? No, they're not. Neither, obviously, Moncrief isn't, and T.Y. Hilton isn't. But T.Y. Hilton has been a solid fantasy wide receiver the last couple years. He can go off from time to time. Cam Newton at 7. Cam Newton is entering the season hurt, but I really think that Cam Newton is the best mobile quarterback in fantasy football. If you want to get a return on a mobile quarterback, if you want someone that might be able to get you some extras in terms of rushing yards and passing yards, that's the guy. That's the guy that you look to get. He's got a better supporting cast around him. He's got Christian McCaffrey in his backfield. Kelvin Benjamin's healthy. Greg Olson's one of the best tight ends in the game, and Carolina has a pretty darn good defense. Mariota ranked 8th. I touched on that. Young, mobile, fantastic running back behind him, and DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry, being that if Murray gets hurt, Derrick Henry is definitely a top running back at that point. And Russell Wilson ranked number 9. Wilson and Doug Baldwin have been one of the more underrated quarterback-wide receiver duos in fantasy football. And I really enjoy seeing Russell Wilson grow as a passer. But could their offense become one-dimensional with the huge question mark at running back? A position on the Seattle Seahawks that I really don't want to touch. And unfortunately, I had no other choice in some of my fantasy leagues this year. So, that being said, Kirk Cousins. I could rank Kirk Cousins 9. I could put Russell Wilson 10. But Russell Wilson has done more, on the ground than Kirk Cousins has. So I like to have quarterbacks that can contribute in a variety of ways, and Russell Wilson is one of those guys, along with Cam Newton, and that's why I have Newton ranked ahead of Mariota, and that's why I have Russell Wilson ranked ahead of Kirk Cousins. But Kirk Cousins has one of the game's better tight ends in Jordan Reed. He's had a litany of injuries, but I think when healthy, this guy is just as good as anybody. Terrell Pryor, who had a standout season with the Cleveland Browns, was inexplicably not re-signed by the Browns for whatever reason, and Washington pounced on him. And I think that was a fantastic signing for them. I think Pryor will do pretty well. I think Kirk Cousins is the real deal. Another franchise tag year for Kirk Cousins, and I think we will definitely see Cousins play well. Masters that offense. Jay Gruden loves him. It's a good fit. But will it make dollars and cents in next year's offseason? Only time will tell. Will Kirk Cousins get paid by the Washington Redskins? So there you have it. I gave you guys my sleepers, my rankings, my strategy. If you can't get Rodgers, Brady, or Brees, Matt Ryan would be a nice option. Derek Carr would be a nice option. Maybe wait. Maybe wait and take a Marcus Mariota. Maybe wait and take a Jameis Winston. Maybe wait and take a Dak Prescott. Maybe wait and take a Kirk Cousins. These aren't the flashiest names. These aren't the names that are at the top of the list. But when Rodgers, Brady, and Brees retire, which that time is coming, these guys will be the next big thing. So if you're in a keeper league, might be the route to go. I'm Ryan Thomas. That was part 1 of today's Fantasy Football Primer on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I just wrapped up the quarterbacks, one of the game's most important positions. Let me know how it goes for everybody. What quarterback do you guys get, and where did you take them? We'll be right back with the Fantasy Football Primer, Fantasy Football Running Backs.